In the past on this channel, I've been very clear that I do not cover the Transformers Skybound comics on a monthly basis. I prefer to cover character arcs. Well, that's somewhat changing here on the channel. As we get more and more characters in the comic, this focuses less on a select individual cast and their growth over time, and it's more so focused on the larger conflict going on Cybertron and Earth. I'm not saying that as a criticism for the comic, or really a plus side, it's just an observation. I have been critical of the new direction of the comic before, and don't get it twisted, if there's something that I truly don't like, I will speak up. But ultimately, I want to shift my focus on this channel to talking more about the things that I personally like. I know, shocker, right? And I gotta say, I really like issue 32. So let's try something new and let's cover it page by page. Transformers issue 32 is written by Robert Kirkman, drawn by Jason Howard with colors from Mike Spicer, and of course, Russ Wooten on letters. There's a lot more people involved in the creation of a comic, so I highly suggest you look at that opening flap and see everybody involved. Opening up on Cybertron, our Autobots underneath Elita Prime have returned. We see her and Ultra Magnus carrying the deceased Ratchet, as well as other Autobots behind them like Jetfire carrying the deceased Bumblebee. They're talking to each other and mentioning that Elita has been here before with Cliffjumper. This is Decepticon territory. They have to stay quiet. They need to stay undetected, but Elita wonders where Bulkhead is. Bulkhead, ever the, klutz, I suppose, has gotten into some trouble as the space bridge behind him explodes. This is not fully explained, but it's theorized here that the energon used for the space bridge was somewhat unstable and there just wasn't enough. Bulkhead asks why exactly they thought that the space bridge itself had enough juice to get them home, and it did, but still, it exploded on them, and he asks why he was nominated to go last. Elita Prime, of course, very battle-hardened after her fight with Optimus and, everything she's gone through, says that they don't really have time for this type of thing, and they need to stay quiet. Jetfire says that he could fly them throughout this area, but Elita is worried that the Decepticons would easily spot them. A quick side note, these first two pages were released as previews, and originally, I was a little iffy on Jason Howard's art here. I absolutely loved his work on issues 13 and 14 back in the day, but it was more so the characters themselves, how they were drawn in the style. I have to say, though, once I finished this entire issue, I really like the direction that he's going with them. I also really love the way he's drawing Cybertron. It is somewhat dull and kind of gray, but there's still a little bit of color left into this world. I enjoy that because Cybertron is often drawn as a lifeless, colorless orb that just floats in the sky. And again, there's a little bit of that here, but I really like the melancholic blues that Mike Spicer is using here in the coloring. It gives this sense of, metal and steel, but also like maybe perhaps there's still a little bit of life left in the planet. Bulkhead says that he needs to take a bit of a break because, getting blown up is not easy. We see the Autobots continue on with a wonderful drawing of Sideswipe, and for the most part, the characters talking about how it would be much easier if they could just drive through here. Elita reiterates that they're in a war, and in a war zone, and that they need to be careful. As I said at the start of this video, I'm still going to speak up when there's things that I'm not the hugest fan of. The dialogue here from Kirkman remains to be the same issue that I have mainly with his storytelling. It's just a little clunky and a little wordy. I don't think it's horrible, but I'd like to see it tightened up a little bit. But somebody off panel says that he couldn't have said these things better himself. And turning that page, we get this absolutely gorgeous spread that features the new Decepticon cast for Cybertron. These characters include Black Arachnia, Dreadwing, Lockdown, Ratbat, Makeshift all the way back there in the back, Knockout, Lugnut, Acid Storm, Sunstorm, Octane, Shockwave, Breakdown, and Thrust. I would like to point out that people in my server have been calling Shockwave Shorb as a shortened version of Shockwave Orb. Originally, I was very confused as to how exactly Shockwave was alive, of course, many of us wondered that as well, but also, is his eye just floating there? Is it on a cable? What happened to his spine? And actually, the next page gives us an answer. It's not a very clear-cut answer, but honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of like this goofy version of Shockwave. Alita asks, how? How is Shockwave still alive? And he tells her, I'm held together with hatred and spite. You can't crush that. It's silly, it's goofy, and I love it. On the opposite end of love, though, I know a lot of people are going to be upset with the fact that Bumblebee is yet again blasted into pieces. Many people are complaining that Kirkman has pulled the rug out from under us. He was promising that Bee would come back. I didn't really see it this way. I just saw it that Bumblebee was moving from Earth to Cybertron. I do understand, though, to a degree, he's still dead. It doesn't bug me too much. I'm actually of the opinion that Bumblebee can be brought back now. I don't think his revival would ruin anything that's happened before. We also get to see Ratchet still dead on the floor, Shockwave, or Shorb, laughing, and Ultra Magnus stouts that his people need him. He asks everybody, all the Autobots, to load up and hold on. He transforms, everybody jumps onto him, and he drives towards Shockwave. Alita and Bulkhead are using cover fire, and we get a little dialogue from Lugnut and Shockwave as well, naming out all these Decepticons like Thrust, Acid Storm, Sunstorm, Lockdown, Black Arachnia, Knockout, Breakdown. I think this is just a way kind of to inform the readers who is who, since it's never been specified, so for new readers who may not know these characters, it's an easy way to catch up. Ultra Magnus does what we've been waiting for a long time, and he completely just rams into Shockwave. Lugnut is running away, and I think it's also very important to notice that Makeshift is in the background in the shadows. We're getting a lot of action here, which I think Jason Howard does a spectacular job on, and some actually really good dialogue here, even though I just criticized it earlier, of Ultra Magnus and Shockwave. Ultra Magnus yelling at Shockwave as he says that his work has been undone. Shockwave sees what he did to Ultra Magnus as a work of art, but at least he gets to redo it now. Knockout and Breakdown are fighting off Bulkhead. This is obviously a very Transformers Prime heavy panel here. We know that Kirkman was a big fan of Animated and Prime, and it does seem, without any certain confirmation, that Knockout and Breakdown are somewhat of a couple here. We've seen this before in IDW 2 and some other iterations of these characters. I'm sure that will upset some people, but there's no big deal. Of course, it's not confirmed, but it definitely is written that way. Lugnut, of course, spouting his glory to Megatron as he fights Mirage, Lockdown saying that Jazz's head will make a nice trophy, and Octane fighting Sideswipe, as well as Black Arachnia just slicing through poor Brawn. I feel like Brawn is the new Bumblebee. He's just constantly getting beat up. Alita sees that her brothers are losing the battle. They are falling, and she grips the matrix of leadership. This beautiful panel, she cries out that it light our darkest hour. And nothing happens. I think this is a great way, maybe a little bit too fast, but still a great way to show that the Matrix is not just a tool that you can command and use for your own purposes. She's not able to utilize it the same way Optimus has. This is definitely something that a lot of people who dislike Alita Prime are probably happy about, and I think it's a good piece of character development, again, albeit maybe a little truncated here. She starts smashing the Matrix itself because she's so upset with it, and the Matrix responds. Again, we're not quite sure in this continuity if the Matrix has a mind of its own. Me, personally, I kind of feel like it does, like it does what it needs to. For instance, it allowed Optimus to heal and restore power to the hospital back in Daniel Warren Johnson's run. Optimus used it as a tool of healing, but Alita here uses it as a tool of warfare. Furthering the idea that maybe perhaps the Matrix is its own entity, or maybe it can speak through its wielder, Alita says, Decepticons, you now face Alita Prime, and then in a different text bubble, It says, and she wields the ghost of the Star Saber. Alita's never really talked about herself in the third person, and so that's why I kind of think maybe perhaps the Matrix is speaking through her. Who knows? It could just be a quirk of the writing again. But it's this beautiful page of, well, the Matrix being wielded like a sword, and Jazz looking up, poor Blaster on the floor dying out, and all the Decepticons staring at her going, uh-oh, this is not what we anticipated happening. Skyquake is, well, he's dispatched pretty quickly. Alita is able to cut off his arms. Lugnut is terrified and decides to run. And there's this really interesting panel where we see, well, Jazz, but with a red highlighted visor saying, Alita, it's me. And she says, nice try, Makeshift. Makeshift, you gotta get better at changing your eye color. That's easy to see through. But Shockwave, of course, ever the coward, is somewhat disappearing, and he tells his goons to attack, but they are no match for Alita and the new ghost of the Star Saber. Some more amazing artwork here as she just slices and dices through all of these Decepticons. She mentions that the blade hungers for the foul sparks of Decepticons. I hear its song, it fuels me. Once again, Kirkman using the word foul. He used the word toil earlier. Just a bit of an inside joke at this point with me. He really likes using those words, and they're somewhat strange to use. We get to see Breakdown's alt mode, which is super fun to see a floating truck of some sorts, and he's going to ram into Alita, but of course, it really doesn't work as she's able to fly by him and slice him. Black Arachnia and Alita Prime get a moment together where they fight. Of course, Black Arachnia is no match for the Star Saber itself, and Alita, standing atop the corpses of all of these Decepticons, calls her Autobots to gather together and retreat. And I really like this moment here where she's standing atop and she calls them together and the Autobots kind of stare at her, wondering what she's going to say. She says, and run. I think this is the correct move from her, not to push further their luck with the Decepticons as they are outnumbered and obviously outmatched, even with the Star Saber. This is a moment where she makes the correct choice as a leader and decides to retreat. Shorb, of course, wants them all dead and calls his Decepticon goons to continue the attack. Alita takes the Matrix itself and says, enough, no sparks will be extinguished today, not on my watch. Somewhat confirming that nobody quite yet has died, but they're probably worse for wear. We also get to see Alita Prime's alt mode for the first time, which seems to be the bike that she had earlier in the series with some wings on it. Hasbro, I'm waiting for a toy. As she flies away, leaving the Decepticons in the dust, Shorb says new battle lines are being drawn. That weapon, the Autobots now have an advantage. He stands to his feet and tells his fellow soldiers that it's time they pay Alpha Trion a visit, which is very intriguing that they would somehow have a connection to him. I wonder if, to some degree, Shockwave is doing to Alpha Trion what he did to Ultra Magnus as well. Keep in mind, we have seen Alpha Trion before, very briefly, in an issue of Void Rivals, where we had a flashback from the character Zerta Trion. And that is issue 32. And again, I actually really enjoyed it. I think enough time has passed between the bridge from Daniel Warren Johnson to Robert Kirkman that while I'm still mourning to some degree the loss of the in-depth character analyses that we could do with Daniel Warren Johnson, I'm not upset with what Kirkman is doing here. This is very goofy, very fun, very action-oriented with some high stakes, and I think it's good for that. People who don't like the new direction, of course, I totally understand, but again, I'm choosing to look on the positive side of things here, and I really enjoyed this issue. There's some things that I think could have done better. The dialogue, for one, is something that I think still needs a lot of work from Kirkman, and I will agree that, like issue 30, there's some great ideas here, but the execution is maybe a little truncated. I would have liked to see more time bringing these ideas to the forefront. That being said, this is obviously just one issue, and so splitting this into two I don't think would work, and there's not really any page within this comic that I'd be willing to cut in order to have more time with some of these concepts, so it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, and I understand the situation that's going on here. I also wanted to mention that in the Matrix of Lettership section, they do mention Trailbreaker, and they sarcastically say that it's so sad that we're never going to see Trailbreaker again. Nope, never, especially not the fact that he's, in the background of a teeny tiny, easy to miss appearance. So obviously something is going on with that character. I highly suggest you read through the rest of the Matrix of Lettership area because there's a lot of good stuff in there, I think, that you can read about that really gets you an idea of where Kirkman is coming from when he's writing this comic. He's a huge animated and Prime fan, and so it makes sense why those characters are showing up more and why I think the feeling of the story is more cornered towards that direction of the franchise. I really enjoy this issue. I'm really looking forward to what's coming next, not only from the series, but also on Cybertron, and I can't wait to see more from Shockwave, who, we're calling Shorb now. Can we all agree on that? He is Shorb now. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, this is a very different style of video for me rather than writing a script. I'm literally just sitting here at my desk, flipping through page by page, kind of talking about what I see. It's not something I normally do, but I just wanted to do some type of video with this issue because I enjoyed it so much. Let me know if it's a little too casual, if you think it should be all scripted, no jokes, no nothing, no mess-ups. But either way, thanks for watching this video, and if you want to join the conversation in the community, then I highly suggest joining my Discord server. It's just $1 for a lifetime entry fee. It's a really fun place where we get to talk about these comics and really any type of media. We do movie nights, game nights. We even do a monthly Energon Universe call where we talk about all the issues going on. And if you can't drum up $1 to get in, then that's okay. If you've watched this far into the video, then here's a secret code to get in. One-time use only, so once it's used, it's gone. But who knows? Sometimes people don't watch all the way to the end of the videos. So, yeah. Issue 32, I liked it. This is fun. I'll see you guys next time.